What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here bringing you the latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. So, the last few games for the Nets were a little interesting. So let's just dive right in and almost knock stuff off my desk. We'll go right into it. It's currently December 29th, and the last three games for the Nets have gone as follows. Close, solid win against the Pistons. Very good, solid win against the Nuggets. Comeback win. Very, very close game win against the Celtics. And then a complete disaster against the Pacers. But so let's just look at these games going forward so far. So far. Interesting. Brook Lopez came back for the game against the Pistons. Came off the bench. Did, okay, nothing major, nothing incredible. At least I think he did. Was that the game against the Pistons, or it could have been the game against the Nuggets? Either way, I think it was the game against the Nuggets. He did okay. But the game against the Pistons, the Nets came out. They played well from the beginning, lost the lead, but then managed to come back and hold on and win. Great performance by Mason Plumlee, who is in the starting lineup and staying in the starting lineup. Then they go against the Nuggets. Same exact thing. Lopez came in there for the first time coming off the bench. Played well-ish for Lopez. I mean, he only played like 7 minutes. Plumlee, of course, played fantastic. Nets win that game. Then they play the Celtics. In a hard-fought game, they were down. They came back down by like 10 points to take the lead. Darren Williams came in and came off the bench in that game as well. And next thing you know, the Nets were up, and Jared, with like 1.2 seconds left, half-court pass. And holy crap, Sullinger almost made that shot. Part of me almost wanted that shot to go in against the Celtics because that would have been really cool. But it did not. So then it's on a 3-game winning streak, and I'm thinking, okay, this is what they're supposed to do. These are the bad teams. Then they just put up a complete stinker against the Pacers. Now, look, the Pacers are getting better now that they're getting relatively healthy. They didn't have David West for a lot of the season. They didn't have they obviously don't have Paul George, but they didn't have George Hill for a good chunk of the season. Now those guys are back and starting to play better. The Pacers are still not a great team. I still think the Nets should have won that game. But you have to remember that this is a team that last year was first in the East. And just because you lost Paul George, yes, he's an important player, that team is still a very good defensive team and still a very good team overall. So it doesn't shock me that the Nets lost that game, but they really shouldn't have. But the thing that drove me crazy about that game is they were in it the whole way until the third quarter where everything just fell apart. Everything. No one could make a shot. Darren Williams couldn't make a shot. Brook Lopez was a complete disaster that game. Joe Johnson was making shots before, couldn't make a shot. Same thing with Jared Jack, who's played very well for them of late. He couldn't make a shot. Plumlee couldn't do anything. It was just, everything just crumbled, and my God, that game was ugly. And the Nets ended up getting blown out by 25. Now, overall, for the week, I'm okay. I'm satisfied with what the Nets did. They're still 3 games under 500, but they did manage to win 3 out of the last 4 games. If they can continue that trend, win 3 out of 4 games, or 2 out of 3 games, it'll be all right. The Nets will be over 500 in a couple weeks then, and they'll start building up, and they'll be not where I expected them to be, but be a respectable team. Now, let's talk about exactly what we saw these games. I'm not going to go about individual games, but there's a lot of stuff to look at here. First off, the play of Jared Jack and Mason Plumlee have been very good. Now, I am not a strong Jared Jack fan because even though he's playing well, he is still a little bit of a one-dimensional player. Jared Jack is the same thing. Basically, he's got to go to the basket, get a screen, and shoot a mid-range jump shot or a floater. And occasionally he'll pass the ball to keep you honest, but I would say 6 or 7 out of 10 times he gets the screen, he shoots a mid-range jump shot. I don't mind that because he makes it, but I still am not a big fan of him starting. I understand he's played very well in the starting lineup, but look, Darren Williams, it needs to be the starting point guard on this team. Darren Williams has played like absolute crap the last, 7-8 games, and honestly, it's because he's been hurt. He won't say anything, but you can tell he's been banged up again. He's no longer fully healthy. And I have never seen a guy who is impacted as much by his health than Darren Williams. When he is healthy, you saw beginning of this year, Darren Williams was healthy. He was fantastic. Now look at him. He's had that strained calf. He's rolled an ankle. He's a disaster again, and now he's a piece of crap again. So, but either way, I still want to have Darren Williams out there because of his big game potential and because I think he's a better floor general and a better assist guy. However, I like Jarrett Jack being a guy who can put some points up. So, really what I'm trying to say is I would like them to start together. I don't see a problem with that. I think it should be Darren Williams and Jarrett Jack in the backcourt. Karasev, he's been very good as a starter, but I still don't think he's really a starter. So I would rather have Karasev come off the bench and start Jarrett Jack. What's wrong with that? I mean, I don't see a problem with that at all. Have those two start together, and then have Karasev come off the bench. First off, Jack goes to the bench, and then Jarrett Jack comes in for Darren Williams, and so on and so forth, and they do like a 3 rotation thing there. That's something I would like to see, but whatever. I think Darren Williams is going to be put back in the starting lineup relatively soon. I know for now he's coming off the bench, but I think he's just really too good of a player. And Jarrett Jack, honestly, the second unit for the Nets has kind of been really crappy if you look at it. They can't get any type of bench production or bench chemistry. And I think they have to start, maybe figuring that out more. I think Jarrett Jack needs to be out of the bench. You can't make people who aren't used to being bench players. That doesn't always work. Sometimes it works. A great example is my boy Vince Carter. Did you see that dunk that Vince had against the Jazz? That was cool. He's an example of a player who has adjusted very well from becoming a star player to a starter to a bench player, a sixth man. He's done a very good job, doing that. But not all players can do that. Darren Williams can't do that. Brook Lopez can't do that, and that's what I'm going to go back into now. Look, I understand Plumlee has played fantastic the last few games. He's doing everything that Lionel Hollins wants in a center, rebounding, defense, whatever. I still do not trust Mason Plumlee. I just don't. He gets a little too crazy. He thinks he's better than he actually is, starts trying to force his way to the basket, and it becomes problems. And he gets fouled, and then he misses the free throws. I don't like him. I don't like it. I like him coming off the bench and providing a spark. I think that works better. I'm not saying don't play Plumlee. I'm saying play the guy, play him 28 minutes a game, but I don't think he should start. And it's not a punishment putting him back to the bench. It's saying, same thing with Jarrett Jack. To me, it's not punishing these guys for taking him out of the starting unit and putting him on the bench. It's more like, you guys have played so well, we want to put you on the bench because our second unit has been crap. Because let's be honest, the biggest problem with the Nets is their second unit. They get off the fantastic starts in the first quarter, and then they fall apart, suck and die, like my last video, and then their second unit is terrible. Teletovic is the only decent second unit player, and he's sporadic. Bogdanovic has completely kind of tampered off the face of the earth. Allen Anderson's occasionally okay. Teletovic is occasionally okay as well. They need to improve their bench. And you're going to improve the bench by taking Darren Williams and Brook Lopez and have them come off the bench? Those guys don't know how to come off the bench. They need to be more in the rhythm of the offense. Just look at Lopez. He's been a disaster coming off the bench. Did you see him in the game against the Pacers? He was just, oh my. And look, Brook. Not that you're ever going to watch a NetsBoy episode, but if you do watch one, watch this. We're about to tell you something. Stop going over your left shoulder in the post. You're so predictable. Brook Lopez, when he gets the ball in the post back to the basket, every time he's spinning to his left, going over his left shoulder for a right-handed hook shot. The defense knows that. They're guarding for that. Not once has he ever spun to his right. He's got to spin to his right. Keep him honest. Brook Lopez, you're such a talented post player, but sometimes you do stupid things like that. And here's another thing. Don't force it. If it's not there, pass it out. If you're not in a good rhythm or you're not in a good position to take a hook shot or a shot, Don't try to force an ugly shot that's going to be a disaster. Pass it out. Reset the lineup. Brook Lopez is trying to do too much. He hasn't played enough since he came back from the injury. He's off this flow of the offense. It's a disaster. Darren Williams is also a player who's just off. He's off his flow because he's not out there. Start Darren Williams. Start Brook Lopez. I understand Jack and Plumlee have played great. I understand that, Lyle Hollins. But your second unit is killing you right now, and you have two guys that you're trying to coming off the bench who just aren't used to it. Not at this point of their career. Start those guys. Go back to the old starting lineup. Okay? Okay? Try that. The bench has been... Keep this confidence that Jack and Plumlee have now as starters. Keep it high and tell them, look, you're not going to the bench because you're being punished. You're going to the bench to help our bench. Keep that up, because if those guys can translate what they're doing as starters off the bench, the Nets would be fantastic. Think about it. That's really all I really have to say about that. It's just get those guys back in the starting lineup. Because right now, Lopez and Darren Williams have no confidence because they're looking over their shoulder, especially Lopez. Every 5 seconds, Lopez is looking over his shoulder. And I don't like it because I think that I think Billy King's going to trade Lopez. I'll be straight up honest. I said that last episode, and like I said before, I don't want him to do it. But it's now or never, in my opinion, if you're going to trade Lopez. Well, that's not true. You can wait till the offseason when if he elects to opt into his option, which, to be honest, he should opt into his player option because he's not getting more money any other way, the way he's playing this year so far. But, but look, Lopez has not been able to get on track the way he was the last few seasons. Injuries aside, just his production hasn't been what Lionel Hollins wants. Perhaps the Nets should trade him, and I don't want it. I don't want it. Like I said, Lopez... I don't have another Nets jersey. I don't. I need to buy a new one then. And I don't know who to get because I'm not in love with anybody on this team. I'm going to be straight up honest. I like a lot of players on this team, but there's not one player that I'm really passionate about saying I love this guy, except for two. Teletovic, love him because he's just awesome. And Brook Lopez. I still think Lopez is one of the best centers in the game. He just needs to play like it again because he needs to get the opportunity to not screw up, and he needs to learn. He's trying to do too much because Lionel Hollins is breathing down his back, and that's okay. Lionel Hollins can breathe down his back, but you still got to let him get back into the flow of things. People keep on forgetting Lopez didn't play at all last year. Well, he did. He played 17 games, then he missed the rest of the year. He's got to get back out there. He's got to play. He's got to get his reps. He's got to get his confidence back. And then he'll become the all-star that we all know he can be. That being said, if Billy King gets an offer to trade him, I think he'll take it. And I would be very upset. I'll be honest. It'll be a very sad NetsBoy episode if that does happen. I don't want it to happen at all, but it's a definite possibility. But that being said, I still think, even though the Nets won 3 out of 4 games, I still think the best thing for the Nets is to get Darren Williams and Brook Lopez back into the starting lineup, put Jack and Plumlee coming back off the bench and solidifying their second unit. Or put Plumlee off the bench and put Jack as the starting 2 guard and then have a little 3-guard rotation with Karasev and those guys. You know what I mean? Either way, the Nets have looked better of late, minus that debacle against the Pacers. And hopefully they can keep it going. Look, like I said before, the schedule's getting very easy for them. Tonight, they got the Kings. That is a game they should win. Obviously, with, we'll see what happens. DeMarcus Cousins, a very good player. Rudy Gay, blah, blah, blah. They should win that game. They should. The Nets are home, and I think they should win that game. Then they play the Bulls. Okay, look, the Bulls are 20-9. They're playing very well. The Nets can't seem to get past them. The Nets are going to lose that game on Tuesday. That's okay. That's a loss. Then they play the Magic. Another team that the Nets are better than. Much better than, in my opinion. That should be a win. And then finally Sunday, they play the Heat. Now look, the last 2 times the Nets played the Heat, I have said the Nets should beat the Heat. Both times they lost. I'm going to say it a fourth time. The Nets should beat the Heat. I do not buy into this Heat team. I do not believe they're that great of a team. I think they're a playoff contending team, but I don't think they're really better than the Nets. Record-wise, they're really only one game better than the Nets right now. They're 14-16. The Nets are 13-15. Now, you can say, oh, but NetsBoy, the Heat, they've been hit with injuries. So are the Nets. So I think the Nets are better or about the same as the Miami Heat. So I think the Nets can win that game. So I'm going to say that should be a win. So once again, I think the Nets should go 3-1 the next 4 games. Now, I expected them to go 4-0 the last 4 games, but I said they're probably going to lose at least one game because they haven't quite gotten to that point of consistency, and they did. So look, if they go 3-1 these next 4 games, look, that's okay. That's okay. They'll be 500. Oh no, they won't. They'll be one game under 500 if they go 3-1 the next 4 games. But still, that's good because after that they got a game against Dallas. That'll probably be a loss. But then here goes the easy schedule again: Celtics, and then you got 76ers, and then after the 76ers you've got scrolling. I lost my place. After 76ers, you got the Pistons. So then you got right there and then another 3 easily win games. Look, the Nets have some winnable games coming up, and they've got to get going. If they can be 500 by January 12th or over 500, they could be 500 or over by January 12th when they play the Rockets. They'll be okay in my book. They will. They will be. Then they got some hard games, but they could still pull off some wins, and we'll see how it goes. But overall, I think, like I said, the Nets, I think, need to change their starting lineup, go back to their old one, let their good guys who are playing well with confidence come off the bench, and improve their second unit, which has struggled. Because that has been the reason why this team has lost the games they've lost, is their second unit has been done. So, we'll see what happens the next few games. I'll keep my fingers crossed for the Nets not to trade Brook Lopez, because I seriously would be very upset. But we'll see what happens. So until then, this is NetsBoy, signing off.